Ladies and gentlemen, everyone wants to pretend the challenge is the problem, that the path is too steep, that the world is against them, that the pain is just too much. But the truth is, it's not the difficulty that's breaking you. It's you. You're not failing because it's hard. You're failing because you're weak. And I don't mean physically, I mean weak where it really counts. In your discipline, in your habits, in your choices. Because let's face it, the barbell doesn't lie. The scale doesn't lie. Your reflection in the mirror doesn't lie. You do. You tell yourself you're doing your best, but deep down, you know you're coasting. You're cherry-picking workouts. You're skipping the meals that matter. You're giving 70% and calling it 100. But your body knows the truth. Your results expose you every single day. You see, the world doesn't reward intentions. It rewards outcomes. It doesn't care if you were tired. It doesn't care if you were stressed. It doesn't care if you had a long day. The weights don't care. Your dreams don't care. And the clock never stops ticking. You think discipline is optional? You think greatness just shows up at your door because you wanted it badly? No, the reason you're stuck is because you've built a lifestyle around comfort, around shortcuts, around justifying the bare minimum. The problem was never the weight on the bar. It was never the early alarm clock. It wasn't the meal prep, the pain, the soreness, or the sacrifices. The obstacle has never been the task. It has always been you. Not the strong version of you. The one you pretend exists on Instagram. The one that imagines greatness while scrolling through highlight reels. But the version of you that secretly clings to comfort like a security blanket. Because deep down, you've convinced yourself that your struggle is noble. That the pain of staying the same is somehow less damaging than the pain of change. But if you're honest, for once, you'll admit it's not difficulty that's stopping you. It's the addiction to ease, the love of convenience, the hunger for shortcuts and dopamine hits over growth and suffering. Difficulty is not the villain, comfort is. Comfort is the drug you keep taking even as it rots your potential. It's disguised as self-care, but it's really self-sabotage in a cozy robe. It's the voice that tells you it's okay to skip one day, to sleep in, to grab takeout instead of cooking, to scroll instead of move, to rest before you've even earned the right to be tired. It's the hand that pats your back while pulling you away from your goals. The modern world hands you comfort on a silver platter, fast food, on-demand entertainment, air-conditioned everything, the illusion that effort is optional. And because it feels good, you buy it. You buy the lie that a little rest never hurt, that a little delay won't matter, that you'll start Monday. But Monday comes and you're weaker, less prepared, more detached from the pain required to change. The irony is that people praise difficulty as if it's the demon when it's actually the gatekeeper. It's not the enemy, it's the qualifier. Difficulty is the filter that separates the serious from the soft. It shows up to ask you one question: how bad do you want it? And when your answer isn't loud enough, when your response isn't action but complaint, procrastination, or negotiation, it knows. It knows you're not built for this yet, so you stay stuck. Not because it was too hard, but because you were too soft. You chose the path of least resistance. You obeyed the feeling instead of the mission. That's the thing. Comfort has a voice, and it sounds a lot like logic. It says things like, be realistic, listen to your body, don't overdo it. And sometimes that's true, but more often it's just the refined language of weakness. Because the people who break through don't ask if it's too hard. They don't ask if they feel ready. They don't wait for the weather, the mood, the motivation, or the perfect plan. They move. They show up because they know that every time they give comfort a seat at the table, they let strength starve. You want results, but your daily decisions betray you. You say you're serious, but your actions scream casual. You think because you read books, you're growing. Because you listen to podcasts, you're changing. Because you made a vision board, you're committed. But none of that matters if you keep pressing snooze. If you keep skipping the hard meals, the hard reps, the hard conversations with yourself. You've confused inspiration with transformation, when one is a feeling and the other is forged in discomfort. No one changes in comfort. No one builds anything worth remembering by living in ease. Comfort dulls your senses, numbs your urgency, and tricks you into thinking you have time. But difficulty? It's honest. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't negotiate. It just shows up every day, asking one thing: will you answer? Will you show up when it's inconvenient, when it's raining, when it hurts, when you're tired, broke, heartbroken, overwhelmed? Because if you only show up when it's easy, you're not dedicated, you're delusional. We're sold this lie that the process has to be fun, that the journey must be enjoyable. But where did that idea come from? Who said growth was supposed to be comfortable? That's not how the body works, not how the mind works. You grow when you're stretched, when you're bent but don't break, when you do the hard thing, not because it's thrilling, but because it's necessary. The gym is not supposed to be a playground. The diet isn't supposed to taste like dessert. Discipline doesn't come with confetti. It comes with sweat, with sacrifice, with showing up to war every morning and fighting the soft part of you that wants to make peace with weakness. And comfort always wants a treaty. It wants a little deal, just one meal off, just one lazy day, just one missed session. But what you don't realize is those just ones are where average lives, where regret begins, where dreams die, not in explosions, but in whispers, in the small, silent surrenders you tell yourself don't matter, but they add up. Every skipped workout is a vote for weakness. Every excuse is a rep for comfort. Every time you choose ease over effort, you train your identity to settle. You'll know when comfort is winning because your goals will shrink. You'll find yourself adjusting the target to fit your current effort instead of adjusting your effort to meet the target. That's what comfort does. It convinces you to dream smaller, try less, expect little. And worst of all, it rewards you just enough to keep you stuck. A little dopamine from junk food, a little validation from fake progress, a little pleasure from procrastination, but nothing real. Nothing lasting, just echoes of the strength you could have had if you had the guts to suffer. Because yes, it's suffering. Stop sugarcoating it. The process hurts. It's boring. It's repetitive. It demands everything and offers nothing up front. No applause, no likes, no instant reward, just resistance, just pressure. But here's the secret. Pressure builds something. Pressure makes diamonds, forges steel, shapes champions. Comfort creates nothing but softness. The difference between the strong and the weak is not genetics, not talent, not luck. It's pain tolerance. The strong are not unafraid. They're just unwilling to let fear of discomfort dictate their choices. They've trained themselves to lean into the fire, to sit with pain until it becomes familiar. And eventually, they stop resisting the difficulty and start relying on it because they know that if it's hard, it's worth it. Comfort, though, is seductive. It makes quitting look noble. It gives you reasons to retreat. It offers you a safety net woven from rationalizations. But nothing grows in safety. Nothing expands in a comfort zone. That's why you're not getting stronger. That's why your body still looks the same. Why your discipline is still fragile. Why your self-respect is shaky. Because you've been giving comfort the wheel and telling yourself the road just got rough. You can't live two lives. You can't want greatness and serve comfort. You can't chase elite results with average behavior. And deep down, you know this. That's why you feel the tension. That internal conflict, that's your potential screaming at your habits. That's the future version of you, the one that's locked behind 10,000 uncomfortable choices, begging you to stop settling. But you won't hear that voice if you keep turning up the volume on comfort. If you keep choosing easy, choosing now, choosing just this once. You want freedom? Then chain yourself to the process. You want strength? Then kill the part of you that keeps saying this is too much. It's not too much. It's exactly what's required. The process isn't punishing you, it's preparing you for the body you say you want, for the mindset you claim to admire, for the life you say you deserve. But none of that lives in comfort. Every inch of growth exists outside it. You've got to crawl, bleed, sweat, cry, not because that's fun, but because that's the toll, that's the price, that's the way. Your comfort zone is killing your ambition in its sleep, slowly, quietly, disguised as self-love, rest days, balance. But there is no balance when you're weak. Balance is a luxury of the disciplined. You don't get to take a break from building the very foundation you've ignored for years. The house is on fire and you're lighting candles. The storm is here and you're building sandcastles. Comfort has taught you to decorate your problems instead of solving them, to delay action in favor of feelings, to protect ego instead of forging character. But you can't fake strength. Not to yourself. Deep down, you know whether you earned your body or bought your supplements. You know if that pump came from real work or a half-hearted session where you went through the motions. You can't lie to the grind. The grind knows. It watches you skip steps. It sees the shortcuts. It remembers every skipped rep, every compromised meal, every time you said tomorrow. And when you come asking for results, it hands you what you deserve. Nothing. You can scream about genetics, age, metabolism, or circumstances all you want, but until you face the truth that your love affair with comfort is stronger than your commitment to change, nothing will move, nothing will change, and no one can do that for you. No coach, no plan, no motivational video. You either make pain your training partner, or you keep letting comfort be your coach, but you can't serve both. You have to pick a side. The side of struggle, the side of structure, the side of showing up broken and tired and uncertain, and still doing the reps, still grinding the meals, still sharpening the mindset. That's where the edge is. That's where the strong are built. And you'll never meet them if you keep staying where it's warm, safe, and easy. Because they're out there in the cold, in the hurt, in the work, growing, unmoved, stationary, frozen in routines cleverly crafted to require zero nerve. People decorate their timelines with imaginary plans, yet abandon every commitment the second responsibility breathes down their neck. Progress isn't elusive. People flee from the discomfort baked into real achievement. They don't stumble due to external strain. They collapse because their inner core never learned how to withstand pressure. The tragedy is not collapse, it's refusal to rise. They wear apathy like armor, parading apathy as wisdom. They've rehearsed failure so frequently that even minimal strain feels overwhelming. Their default response? Delay, deny, distract. The blueprint for winning exists, but that roadmap demands unwavering focus, unfiltered confrontation with mediocrity, and relentless follow-through, none of which coexist with softness. They whisper to themselves, "One day I'll begin," while drowning in endless cycles of retraction. They pause progress with rationalizations so polished they could be TED Talks. They talk transformation, but they bail once inconvenience replaces novelty. They adore theory, yet despise execution. Adoration means nothing without reinforcement. Wishing achieves zero. Outcomes demand force, not feelings. Those who evolved didn't wait for perfect timing. They didn't rely on positivity. They stood toe-to-toe with resistance, understanding that elevation doesn't come from wishing away obstacles, but by confronting them without negotiation. They didn't opt out when unfamiliar terrain appeared. They took initiative when predictability vanished. Mental resilience isn't built in euphoria. It's forged amidst hardship, when every cell begs for respite, but momentum continues anyway. The ones who cross thresholds don't merely try. They insist on victory, independent of mood, condition, or support. They show up, shut up, and do the necessary. Emotional turbulence doesn't slow them. They operate beneath it. This isn't about romanticizing suffering. It's about refusing softness where excellence demands iron. Too many crave applause without sweat. They beg for transformation while indulging in avoidance. They yearn for results they never earn. They dramatize setbacks, labeling minor detours as epic collapse. But truth exposes everything. Either your decisions align with progression or they reinforce stagnation. Those trapped in plateau mode blame logistics, environment, or chemistry, but nothing external can rescue someone who's sabotaging their trajectory through hesitation and inconsistency. Everyone claims they're overwhelmed, Few admit they're undisciplined. Everyone claims they're burnt out. Few accept they've never ignited anything substantial to begin with. Growth doesn't cater to feelings. It challenges fragility. It punishes flakiness. It desecrates convenience. When accountability enters, illusions dissolve. Suddenly, your unearned confidence gets tested. Suddenly, your imagined toughness gets dismantled. And if you've spent years avoiding resistance, don't be shocked when minimal adversity wrecks you. Grinders don't fear effort. They absorb fatigue and weaponize it. They condition themselves through deliberate struggle, not random bouts of enthusiasm. The amateurs confuse motion with movement. They shuffle, pace, circle, but never advance. They dramatize effort. The disciplined minimize drama, maximize repetition. There's a brutal honesty buried inside every regime that works. It says nobody's coming, not your favorite influencer, not your childhood trauma, not your favorite playlist, no saviors arriving, just you, and whether or not you'll deliver under pressure. Every hour wasted on distractions, comparisons, complaints, it compounds. Eventually, you're buried beneath your own delays. You'll notice, those who win don't look special. They're not charismatic icons with perfect genetics. They're the silent ones in corners doing the mundane, uncelebrated, often unnoticed, but they own their path. They don't bounce between programs. They don't chase the next shortcut. They stick, they master, they repeat. The dangerous myth circulating through weak-minded culture is this: you can earn gold without bleeding. They believe consistency is optional. They pretend showing up once or twice gives them license to expect dramatic returns. But everything extraordinary emerges from thousands of decisions executed without clout, spotlight, or applause. If you keep abandoning structure because it's too much, you'll forever be someone who almost made it. If you keep waiting until everything aligns, expect nothing but regret. Regret tastes worse than any setback, because regret confirms you had chances and wasted them. When intensity meets intentionality, transformation isn't optional, it's inevitable. But those who dabble never find that out. Dabblers change goals monthly. Dabblers fear routine. Dabblers crave novelty. They never stay long enough to extract results from the system. Their lack of identity bleeds into everything: how they train, how they eat, how they speak, how they think. Don't misunderstand. There's no glory in burnout, but there's also no honor in laziness dressed up as balance. The path doesn't bend for excuses. The path demands that you bend, that you evolve, that you relinquish convenience, that you abandon identity patterns aligned with mediocrity. Why is your momentum fragile? Because your anchor is emotional, not behavioral. You act when inspired and freeze when unmotivated. Your routine is dictated by mood. Your urgency is dictated by comparison. You don't know how to persist without external stimulation. But the ones who ascend have mechanisms. They have behaviors executed independent of feeling. They don't ponder, hesitate, or negotiate once the alarm rings. They move. They eliminate options. They construct systems immune to temporary emotion. Every time you bypass a decision point in favor of momentary comfort, you weaken your future self. Each skipped task is a theft from tomorrow. You're stealing capability, character, clarity. You're stealing strength from the version of yourself that could have been unshakable. Let's be real. The process doesn't fail. You fail to engage fully. You fail to sacrifice adequately. You fail to accept that fulfillment requires friction. You cannot Google your way to grit. You cannot manifest competence. You cannot skip pain and still deserve pride. Stop waiting for validation. You don't need another post telling you it's okay to rest. You've rested enough. You've postponed greatness long enough. No more analyzing symptoms while avoiding cures. Action cures, not reflection, not reading, not scrolling. Action. Winners operate through identity. They don't say, I have to. They say, I do. There's no internal debate. It's not negotiable. That's where transformation begins. Not when effort is visible, but when it becomes automatic. When it becomes who you are, not what you attempt. Your triggers aren't the issue, your responses are. Your workload isn't the barrier, your softness is. Stop diagnosing fake fatigue. Start embracing high standards. And no, not motivational slogans. Actual high standards, the kind that demand respect from yourself before anyone else. You keep looking for the right mindset. Here it is. Stop doing what weak people do. Start doing what disciplined individuals execute, whether it's enjoyable or not. You don't have to feel prepared. You don't need to love the process. You just need to perform. Those who dominate arenas, athletic, academic, business, spiritual, all carry this trait, repeatability. They operate daily at levels most can't even touch, weekly, not because they're divine, because they built systems through self-denial and brutal honesty. Ask yourself, when's the last time you completed something difficult without recognition? When did you last sacrifice something you loved for something you needed? If those answers hurt, good. That's honesty, waking you up. Because until you start replacing indulgence with intensity, you'll remain on loop. Different calendar, same stories, different goal, same excuses, different coach, same quitting points. There are no upgrades in your life without downgrading your excuses. Mastery loves boredom. Growth thrives in repetition. Greatness is allergic to shortcuts. If you've been pivoting for years and never progressing, it's not the plan, it's the passenger. You keep changing maps, not realizing the driver hasn't changed. You were never supposed to be average, but unless you confront your tendencies to preserve comfort, you'll default there. Excellence isn't hidden. It's buried beneath your daily habits. It's unlocked by declining every shortcut, by annihilating hesitation. Saturate your hours with decisions that scream discipline. Let your choices be a declaration, not a plea for convenience. Let your schedule crush inconsistency. Let your principles be louder than your feelings. Until that happens, until repetition becomes more natural than retreat, expect nothing new. Expect emptiness. Expect repetition of your own decline. Because without execution, every insight, every plan, every dream is just mental clutter. Ruthless standards, radical follow-through, relentless repetition. That's how legends are made, not because they're immune to failure, but because they're violently allergic to stagnation. You're not stuck, you're undecided. You're not overwhelmed. You're unstructured. You're not cursed. You're underprepared. That difference matters. The mirror you avoid, it remembers. The truth you dodge, it waits. The potential you suppress, it aches. They all stay with you until the day you finally choose to become undeniable. Not just once, but over and over. Until you forget how to disappear. That's the price. That's the process. That's how weakness dies. Not with motivation, with action, without applause, in silence, in sweat, with standards that scare the version of you that keeps quitting. Erase the delay, erase the permission-seeking, the internal meetings you keep holding with fear and fantasy. Nobody's going to hand you discipline. Nobody's wrapping intensity in gift paper, dropping it at your front door. You get it by marching into the chaos, yanking it out with blood, muscle, and intent. You seize it when hesitation is buried so deep it can't whisper anymore. You carve it from situations where everyone else folds. That's the process. That's what separates those who execute from those who endlessly dream. People say they want change. That's false. They want ease in a different costume. They desire results wrapped in instant gratification. They want overnight evolution without shedding identity, without losing comfort, without rewriting their lives line by line. That's not transformation, that's delusion. Change does not wait politely for your approval. It demands aggression. It requires severing habits that used to give you false pride. It insists you become someone whose actions no longer mirror yesterday's behavior. Until then, nothing real shifts. All you'll ever do is rehearse disappointment while hoping for breakthroughs built on fiction. You can't finesse. You can't charm outcomes. Sweat doesn't respond to charm. Fire doesn't listen to complaints. If you're still hoping to slide into greatness through loopholes, backdoors, or half commitments, stay home. You're not cut for this yet. The ones who rise aren't casual. They're not juggling options. They're eliminating them. They commit with such sharp precision that escape routes vanish. That's what you've been missing. Commitment born from necessity. Not nice to have, not when it's convenient, not if I feel inspired, but must. Life or death. No gray area, no escape clause. Without that edge, Every challenge becomes negotiable. Every pressure becomes unbearable. Every minor obstacle turns colossal because you've never built inner fortitude. You've only practiced appearances. Everyone talks about mindset like it's magic, but few actually build one. Fewer still live by one. Mindset isn't trendy mantras on digital backgrounds. It's grit that doesn't ask how you feel. It's repetition that doesn't stop when motivation retires. It's obedience to purpose. And most people aren't mentally weak because they're broken. They're mentally weak because they've avoided repetition. They've avoided being terrible at something long enough to get good. They chase novelty, not structure. That's why their results dissolve the second difficulty enters. There's no strength without struggle. That's not poetic, that's law. Everything you've been avoiding, that early session, that tough meal, that painful conversation, that brutal introspection, all of it contains the raw material you'll need to construct the next version of yourself. Every detour you take around difficulty is a stolen opportunity. You're robbing your future to preserve your ego. You're pretending your schedule is full, pretending your body needs more rest, pretending you're being smart, but you're just hiding. You don't need more hacks. You don't need better playlists, louder alarms, fancier apps. You need clarity. You need truth. You need to walk up to your reflection and stop lying. Stop telling yourself you're close. You're not close. If you were, you wouldn't still be explaining your inconsistency like it's someone else's fault. You wouldn't still be searching for outside fixes to internal weaknesses. You wouldn't still be listening to every excuse your comfort zone mumbles at you. Start keeping score differently. Don't count workouts completed. Count the ones you showed up for when you didn't want to. Don't count calories tracked. Count the days you crushed cravings while tired, irritable, or angry. Don't count how often you tried. Count how often you endured while everything around you whispered, quit. That's how warriors tally victories. Not with polished stats, but with grimy persistence. Real fortitude gets built on days most people cancel. It grows inside hours where everything tells you to slow down, where nothing feels exciting and nobody claps, when progress feels invisible, when results seem miles away, when it's just you, the task, and a silence thick enough to drown in. That's the forge. That's the trial. That's the only place you earn credibility with yourself. Until you've been through that fire, without flinching, without bargaining, you don't own your discipline. You lease it. And you'll lose it the moment pressure shows up. You want elite results, but you still act like an amateur. You want top-tier development, but you can't even string together consistent behavior for a week without needing a pep talk. Stop fantasizing about discipline and start practicing it. The reason people stay weak isn't because they lack tools. It's because they keep pressing snooze on their own potential, expecting success to happen while they flirt with failure. You're not battling impossibility, you're battling indulgence. You're not outnumbered, you're outworked. You're not facing overwhelming odds, you're facing self-imposed limitations, beliefs so flimsy, they collapse under scrutiny. Every time you whisper, I can't, what you really mean is, I won't pay the price. And that's fine, but own it. Don't romanticize failure by calling it a learning curve. You're not failing because this is complicated. You're failing because you've tolerated laziness with a straight face. What's your routine built on? Urgency or avoidance? Is it structured around sacrifice or seduction? Are you scheduling priorities or distractions? Because your day doesn't lie, your decisions don't lie. The outcomes you're sitting in now, they were purchased through consistent patterns, not random bad luck. Either you owned your hours or you wasted them, hoping someone would teach you how to do what you already knew needed to be done. You know exactly what to fix. You've always known. You've had the answers buried beneath delay, wrapped in noise, hidden behind fabricated confusion. You tell yourself you need more information, more encouragement, more alignment. That's fiction. What you need is exposure. Put yourself in pressure. Stay there. Stop running from repetition. Let discipline finally have its turn at driving. This doesn't mean you never struggle. It means You don't flinch. You build composure. You sharpen through conflict. You keep showing up with a scowl, not a smile, because you're there for results, not approval. The work is ugly. It's relentless. It doesn't always feel noble, but it builds someone who can't be rattled, someone who doesn't need hand-holding or reminders, someone who keeps moving, not because it feels good, but because it's non-negotiable. No more waiting. No more outlining. No more planning without performance. If you're still stuck, it's because you're still bargaining. You still believe you can outthink action. You can't. Everything great is on the other side of uncomfortable decisions executed repeatedly. You either build the momentum or suffer from the lack of it. Decide. Are you here to watch or participate? Are you ready to fight through your habits or keep rehearsing them? Because the only thing standing between you and everything you've claimed you wanted is your unwillingness to endure repetition. That's where this entire war is being fought, not in inspiration, not in theory, but in quiet, grueling, thankless, powerful repetition. Stand firmly. Step forward. Proceed without doubt, without fear, without another minute of hesitation. Everything you're capable of hinges on rejecting softness, not only in circumstances, but at the root of your internal wiring. Nobody strong ever got there by hoping to. They arrived by resisting mediocrity when surrender would have been easier. They didn't cross milestones by waiting for convenience to align with desire. They acted. They didn't flinch. They made aggression toward inertia their only language. You want triumph? Earn it by cutting weakness off at its source. Don't pause for external applause. Don't anticipate ideal conditions. Don't rehearse strategies in your head endlessly while your life remains static. Clarity isn't something you find. It's something you forge by doing, by pushing beyond tolerance, by crushing hesitation and stepping into the chaos, unprepared but determined. That's where resilience begins. That's where real evolution surfaces. Quit looking sideways. Competitors aren't your threat. Your comfort is. Your addiction to avoidance, your obsession with shortcuts, your constant pursuit of frictionless paths, that's what's been robbing you. You pretend you're overwhelmed. You're just undisciplined. You say you're confused. No, you're scared. Not frightened of effort, terrified of accountability. That's why you hide behind complexity. That's why you invent busy work. That's why your routines are built like sandcastles, easily destroyed, easily abandoned. Because at your core, you're still trying to find ways around the suffering. You're still trying to harvest greatness without touching discomfort. And deep down, you know that's never going to happen. So decide now. Abandon every excuse. Eliminate distractions masquerading as commitments. Step into structure so demanding it terrifies every version of yourself that ever played small. Make no allowances for softness, not tomorrow, not later, now. Act, do, build, relentlessly, without rest until the mission is finished. That's what the ruthless do. They don't negotiate with resistance, they dominate it. This process requires savagery, not against others, but against internal softness. That voice that wants breaks, that whisper craving validation, that tendency to ease back once progress is visible. Kill it. Replace it with ritual. Ritual doesn't ask how you feel. Ritual doesn't depend on excitement. Ritual executes regardless. The relentless don't get bored, they get better.
You don't lack potential. You lack seriousness. The real problem isn't the weight of your obligations. It's the fragility of your intentions. You tell yourself you'll rise when inspired, but what if inspiration never arrives? What if this is it? Just you and the choice to either sink deeper into patterns or fight like hell to climb out. Start fighting. Stop waiting. Waiting is an assassin dressed as patience. Waiting is the graveyard of momentum. Every second you stall, someone else sharpens. Somewhere out there, a future version of yourself is waiting for you to stop flinching, to stop pretending, to stop overcomplicating and finally move. If you're tired, good. That means you're closer to change than ever before. Nobody reaches high levels refreshed. Nobody achieves transformation fully rested. Exertion is required. Fatigue is part of it. That burn inside your chest isn't danger. It's data. It's confirmation that you're no longer sleeping through life. You're awake, alert, pressing forward. Use it. Use everything. Frustration, doubt, loneliness. Use the chaos inside your chest. Forge meaning out of it. Channel it into energy. You don't need perfect conditions. You need to show up broken, angry, unsure, and still refuse to fall back. You need to train with fury, eat with discipline, recover like a professional, think like a soldier, live like a lion. Nothing less. Because life isn't going to hand you results simply because you're tired of struggling. That's not how this works. You must break barriers. You must sacrifice pleasures average people cling to. You must operate under pressure while others retreat. That's where victories stack. That's where records fall. That's where self-respect is born. Not from dreaming, but from enduring. And don't ask for sympathy. Ask for a mirror. Face yourself. Completely. Not with self-pity. With full responsibility. If you're behind, it's not fate. It's habits. If you're losing, it's not misfortune. It's inconsistency. And if you're truly ready to rise, start proving it through behavior. Loud declarations mean nothing if your actions whisper weakness. Be ruthless. Not once. Repeatedly. Daily. Wholly. Without exception. Cultivate such mental sharpness that excuses can't survive near you. Build momentum so forceful that obstacles are nothing more than scenery. Stop giving your attention to anything that isn't aligned with progress. Every thought, every decision, every second. Aim it at domination. You're not too late. You're too passive. The time you think you need to get ready is time you could spend becoming unrecognizable to the version of yourself that used to break under pressure. Become someone who runs toward fire, not away from it. Seek trials. Invite resistance. Welcome discomfort. Not as punishment, but as proof you're finally becoming who you were always meant to be. Unleash the force inside you. The one that doesn't quit. The one buried beneath excuses, distractions, softness. Dig until you find it. Then let it lead. Let it reshape your identity. Let it become your response to every doubt, every detour, every demand life throws at you. Be the storm. Be the reason weakness doesn't survive the day. Show up when nobody believes, especially then. Especially when the odds laugh. Especially when it feels impossible. Because impossible is just unfamiliar territory. And warriors turn unfamiliar into home. They don't walk around fire. They walk through it. They don't shrink from pressure. They grow inside it. Pressure doesn't break them. It reveals them. If people don't understand your intensity, good. If they question your standards, good. If they think you're extreme, excellent. That means you're doing something rare. That means you're building something sacred. Integrity. The kind that can't be bought. The kind that lasts when the noise disappears. The kind that doesn't need hashtags or likes or credit. It just needs the work. Do it loudly. Do it alone. Do it obsessively. Every step forward is a war against your former self. The lazy version, the scared version, the one that blinked when it should have stared. Obliterate that past. Replace it with fire, with command, with precision. You don't need more goals. You need more guts. You don't rise by being reasonable. You rise by declaring war on mediocrity and refusing to let up until it's gone. You rise by doing what 99% won't. You rise by starving weakness, by refusing distractions, by choosing action while others invent reasons to delay. No breaks, no passivity, no more explanations, just execution. Ceaseless, committed, nonstop. Not someday, immediately, not when it's easy, especially when it's hard. That's the path. That's the method. That's the code. If you're serious, prove it. Otherwise, step aside. Greatness doesn't wait.